Hello, I'm Adele, a doll artist behind the brand Nymphai dolls. Today I'm filming a video about the process of making my latest porcelain doll, Rafflesia. I finished her last year, but I never got around to talk about the whole process. So I start by pouring porcelain into the mold. I use ultra chic porcelain in Dresden white color. I will leave all the materials in the description below. I fill every mold to the top and wait a few minutes so the porcelain would stick to the walls. Then I empty the molds by pouring the excess porcelain out and leave them to harden for about an hour or two. When I see that the porcelain is leather hard, it's time to remove the pieces from the mold. At this stage, the porcelain is still very soft, so I'm being extra careful. When opening the molds, you need to be very gentle and don't use any force. If the mold doesn't open easily, the porcelain needs more time to dry. The raw porcelain pieces will have visible seams and imperfections from the mold, so the next step will be cleaning that up. My dolls have 21 pieces, so I'm pouring porcelain and cleaning the seams the whole day. To remove the imperfections, I use clean water, a brush, and a scalpel. Some music or a podcast is also necessary because it's a very long process and I get bored very quickly. The next day, when all the pieces are bone dry, it's time for the bisque firing in the kiln. It's the first firing in a relatively low temperature that can be around 900 degrees Celsius, depending on the porcelain or the techniques you are using. After this firing, we will be able to sand and perfect the pieces further. Because the porcelain dusts are very harmful for the lungs, I used wet sanding technique. After the bisque firing, the pieces are still very brittle, but they are not water soluble anymore, so it's safe to submerge them. At this stage, I perfect the pieces and prepare them for the final firing in the kiln. I use sanding paper, a scalpel, and sometimes a needle to make the pieces as lifelike as possible. All the detailing must be done at this stage, because after final firing the porcelain becomes so hard and almost glass-like, so you can't make any changes then. And I'm happy with all the doll parts. It's time for final firing. The porcelain fires to maturity in 1220 degrees Celsius, so the kiln gets very hot and takes the whole night to cool down. The next step is painting the doll using China paints. These paints has to be fired in the kiln as well, and to paint the face fully I sometimes need 8 layers of paint. That means 8 firings as well. But it's totally worth it because these paints are permanent and can't be removed from the porcelain. I love how they look as well. They can be very translucent and resemble very lifelike skin tones. Now it's time to assemble the doll. I use steel springs because I seek longevity and great posability. Steel springs offer just that. When everything is connected, the doll can hold different poses, almost like a human. Because of the steel springs, the doll won't lose this ability for a very long time. As you can see, I made the wig as well, but unfortunately I didn't film the process. I will film the wig making video in the future for sure. The wig is removable for the easy access of assembly mechanism and the springs. It is magnetic, so it always stays in place. To create a costume for this doll, I started with sewing the corset. I made it with all the boning and metal eyelets for the ribbon. If you're interested in doll clothing tutorials, check out my Patreon because I have a few there. Punching these metal eyelets was probably my favorite part because they look so good and true to the scale of the doll. Then goes the ribbon. Costume making is a very rewarding process because you get to see how your doll will look like as its final character. I also love embellishing the costume with tiny beads, sequins, and embroidery. I feel like it takes the whole costume to the next level, making it almost couture-like. Talking about embroidery, I decided to create a fully embroidered cape to my doll. It probably took me a week to embroider all these flowers, but it was so worth it at the end. The last piece was to create shoes for my bright and beautiful doll. I made the heel from polymer clay and attached the red strips of fabric to create these vintage looking heels. I'm probably the most proud of these miniature shoes because of all the intricate details, and I wouldn't mind to own these myself. Of course, I needed to add miniature flowers and beads to complete the look. Here are the finished shoes. What do you think? I love how they turn out. With them, the doll was finally complete. I hope you enjoyed seeing my process and what it takes to create one doll. Thank you so much for watching.